Anyone who ever met Carter knows that he loved to bark. Carter was a Lhasa Apso, a dog bred specifically to basically be a living security alarm. Carter had no inside voice and would bark whenever anything was happening. He would bark whenever somebody came into the room or left the room, whenever anybody stood up, or even sometimes when they sat down. He would bark when you tried to talk to somebody, he would bark when he was playing, he'd bark when he wanted something, and sometimes he would just bark. He thought everything was worth talking about. I'll never forget the story of how I met Carter. I'd searched for a dog for over a month, searched for the right dog for over a month. And on February 15th, 2003, I went to the Springfield Pound and I wandered around looking at dogs, and I saw a couple possibilities, but then I saw this little white ball of fluff pressed up against the cage, side of the cage, looking sad, and I walked over to him and I said hello and I started petting him a little, and he got really animated and excited. He had chosen me before I had even chosen him. So I took him on a walk and he was still really excited, and I knew then that this was my dog. I didn't know he liked to bark yet. To my dismay, though, the pound had this policy where you had to wait 24 hours after you picked your dog before you could take it home. And it was a holiday weekend, and somebody else had already said they wanted him, but they weren't sure that they were going to come back. So I had to wait 3 grueling days to get my dog, and I took the Tuesday off. I showed up before the pound opened, and as soon as they opened their doors, they said, "Is Carter still here?" And he was still there. I took him to the pet store to get all the stuff he needed. I took him to the vet for his first checkup, and I took my puppy home. Every year on his adoption day in February, I would tell him that story. In his early years, Carter and I used to go hiking together. We took road trips together. He helped me with my computer, watched me do it anyway. We even went kayaking together. And in his later years, we'd go on walks, or he would forage in the snow or the tall grasses of the backyard, or we would play catch in the living room. All his life, Carter loved chasing the little squeaky ball. Even a few days before he left us, he would still chase that ball like he was a third his age, like a little puppy. Sadly, Carter never learned how to play with other dogs, but he liked to play with people. He liked to play by himself. He figured out that if he pushed the ball off the couch, it would bounce and roll away, and he could chase it. So if I didn't feel like throwing it, or usually if he didn't feel like surrendering it, he could push it off and go get it, bring it back up on the couch, and push it off again. Anytime I went out of the house for like a road trip, or a vacation, or a business trip, or sometimes just for the day, I would say goodbye to Carter, and I would promise him that I would always come back. And I kept that promise. When I heard a couple days ago, last week, that he got really sick and might not make it, I went straight to the airport, got a ticket, and I was back here in Boston at the vet within 5 hours. I could have found a cheaper way to do it if I had waited just a few hours, or if I had taken a flight that wasn't nonstop. But if he left us, well, I was traveling and I could have gotten back here faster, I could never have lived with myself for that, forgiven myself for that. In his last few days alive, even though he was uncomfortable and a little dazed, I got one last little kiss and one tail wag. He gave me everything he had to give and everything he was, and I gave him everything I could figure out that he needed. Carter, little buddy, Mr. Fluffy Head. I love you and I'll always remember you for the unconditional love you offered. Rest in peace, my friend.